My beloveds, let us come close today, not with our heads hung in shame, but with our eyes lifted like sunflowers toward the warmth of heaven. Today is July 8, a day like any other to the world, but to the soul that seeks, it is a doorway, a sacred threshold, a whisper from eternity saying, "You were born for this day. You were made for this mountain. You were crafted for this climb." You see, confidence is not arrogance dressed in Sunday shoes. It is not the loud roar of a prideful man. No, child. Confidence is the gentle thunder of a spirit that knows who walks beside it. It is the quiet fire in the eyes of a woman who has prayed through midnights and danced in the rain of rejection. It is the unshaken yes in the bones of a man who has fallen 7 times but stood up 8. And boldness, my dear, is not reckless defiance. It is holy courage, a courage wrapped in humility and soaked in the oil of grace. It is knowing that fear may knock on your door, but faith will answer, saying, "There's no room for you here." So today, let us bow our heads not in defeat, but in alignment. Let us bend our knees, not to the weight of the world, but to the strength of the God who holds it. Let us pray. Confidence is not a garment you put on once a week. It is not stitched in satin or sewn into the seams of your Sunday best. No, child. Confidence is something deeper, something sacred. It lives in the marrow of your bones and breathes through your spirit like wind across a still lake. And let me tell you this, true confidence does not begin with you. It begins with God. You see, the world will try to tell you where to place your confidence. In your beauty, in your bank account, in your ability to charm a room or impress a stranger. But all those things are as fleeting as dust in the wind. They shift, they fade, they abandon you when the storms come. But the confidence that is rooted in God, that kind of confidence cannot be shaken. It cannot be bought. It cannot be borrowed. It is forged in fire and built to last. Now, darling, you may be wondering how such a holy confidence is formed. It is not in the moments when the crowd applauds you, no. It is in the dark spaces, when the lights are off and the tears fall silently. It is in the moments when you feel forgotten, overlooked, and unheard. That is where confidence is born. In the belly of struggle, in the arms of surrender, in the stillness where only God's voice can reach you. I have seen many faces wear a mask called confidence. Loud laughter, fast words, big movements. But when you strip it all down, there's a trembling child inside, still seeking approval from the world. That kind of confidence is a performance, not a promise. But when your heart has been laid bare before the Lord, and you have heard him whisper, "You are mine," oh baby, that changes everything. You begin to walk different, talk different. Even your silence starts to sing. When you know that God made you with his own hands, formed you in the hidden place, breathed into your lungs his very breath, how can you not walk with your head high? When you realize that the creator of the sun, the moon, and the stars took the time to write your name in his book, how can you not stand tall? That, my dear, is the seed of real confidence. Let me tell you a truth that no mirror will ever show you. You are not confident because of what you look like or what you've accomplished. You are confident because of whose you are. You belong to the Almighty, and he does not make mistakes. He does not form you in error. Every freckle, every scar, every curve, every tear, it all tells the story of a God who doesn't waste anything. Confidence in God means you can walk into unfamiliar rooms and still feel at home. It means you can speak with clarity even when your voice shakes. It means you can love boldly even when the world has taught you to build walls. And it means you can rise again and again, even if life tries to knock you down 100 times, because you know your strength is not your own. Now, there will be days when you feel anything but confident. Days when doubt will creep in like a thief in the night and try to rob you of your worth. Days when people will overlook you, talk down to you, or ignore the light in you. But don't you dare let their blindness make you question your brightness. Don't you dare let the noise of the world drown out the song God placed in your soul. On those days, I want you to stand still and remember. Remember the lions you've already faced and survived. Remember the prayers you've cried that were answered in whispers. Remember the moments you were sure you'd break, but you didn't. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was God moving, lifting, carrying, fighting, and loving you through every valley and shadow. Confidence in God means trusting that your story is not finished yet. It means knowing that the same God who raised Lazarus, who split the sea, who calmed the storm, is the same God who stands beside you now. Not later, not someday, now. He is your confidence, your compass, your covering. So hold your head up, child. Not because life is perfect, but because God is present. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know the one who does. Let your steps be bold. Let your heart be open. And let your soul remember that the greatest power you have is not in pretending to be strong, but in knowing you are held. You don't need the world's permission to shine. You don't need the applause of men to walk tall. You don't need every door to open, just the one God has chosen for you. And when you walk through it, you won't walk timidly. You'll walk with grace, with fire, with the full weight of heaven behind you. Yes, you may bend, but you won't break. You may stumble, but you won't fall. You may cry, but you will not drown, because the confidence you carry is not flesh deep. It is soul deep. It is divided. And so on this day, this holy day of July 8, speak this truth over your life. I am confident. Not because of who I am, but because of whose I am. Not because I am fearless, but because I walk with the God of all power. Not because the road is easy, but because I do not walk it alone. This is the kind of confidence that makes demons tremble and heaven rejoice. This is the kind of confidence that turns ordinary days into sacred ground. And this, beloved, is the kind of confidence that no one can take away from you. Boldness, my child, is not the absence of fear. It is the decision, clear and deliberate, to move forward even when fear stands tall before you like a mighty oak in the road. It is the sacred courage to speak truth when lies dance all around you. Boldness is not noise. It is not puffed up pride. It is quiet thunder, a holy fire wrapped in the softness of grace. It does not need applause, nor does it seek approval. It lives in the spirit that knows its God walks before it. There are many in this world who confuse boldness with arrogance. But boldness that comes from the Lord is not self-serving. It is not brash. It does not shout to be heard. Instead, it listens deeply, speaks wisely, and moves with purpose. It is carved in humility and rooted in truth. It does not trample others to rise. It lifts the lowly. It speaks for the voiceless. It walks in rooms where silence has lingered too long and says, "Let light come in." You see, boldness from the Lord is different. It's not about being unafraid. It's about choosing to act even when your knees knock and your heart thunders inside your chest. It is Esther standing before the king knowing her life hangs in the balance but saying, "If I perish, I perish." It is Moses, slow of speech, standing before Pharaoh and demanding the release of a nation. It is Jesus, silent before his accusers, knowing that power does not always shout. It sometimes bleeds. Now let me tell you, this boldness doesn't always wear a crown. Sometimes it comes in the form of a mother rising before dawn, praying over her children with tears in her eyes. Sometimes it's a young man choosing honesty when a lie would be easier. Sometimes it's an elder woman, frail in body but strong in spirit, telling the truth nobody else dares to speak. And sometimes, yes, sometimes, it's you, beloved, rising again after the world has knocked you down. God's boldness shows up in places where people least expect it. It's in the hands of the quiet worker who refuses to compromise their integrity. It's in the voice of a child who says, No, I won't go that way. It's in the heart of a man who chooses kindness over revenge. This boldness, the one born from faith and nurtured by the Spirit, doesn't shoot to be seen. It just keeps standing when everything else falls. And oh, how we need boldness in these days. We live in a time where fear is dressed in every color, where uncertainty knocks on every door, where despair clings to hearts like heavy chains. But I came to tell you fear has a name, but faith has a louder one. Fear may raise its voice, but it cannot silence the one who walks with God. You may say, but I am small. And I will tell you David was small, but he ran toward Goliath. You may say, but I am not wise. And I will remind you Solomon asked for wisdom, and God gave it. You may say, but I have failed too many times. And I will lift your chin and say, so did Peter, and still he walked on water. A boldness does not come from perfection. It comes from presence, from knowing that your God is with you, from remembering that you were not placed on this earth to hide. You were not born to blend in. You were not crafted in the womb to play small. No, darling, you were made in the image of a bold and mighty God, and there is fire in your belly and purpose in your bones. So walk into rooms that make you nervous. Speak the words you've held back for too long. Dream dreams that terrify your fear. Let your faith speak louder than your insecurities. Be bold, not because of what you can do, but because of what God has already done. Not because the path is clear, but because you know who orders your steps. And hear me when I say this boldness will cost you. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you popularity. It may cost you relationships that were never rooted in love. But boldness will also clothe you in freedom. It will bring peace to your soul and strength to your stance. It will open doors you never dared to knock on. And it will show the world that the God you serve not asleep, not distant, not powerless, but active, present, and mighty. Let them say you are too much. Let them say you are too loud, too brave, too different. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. But do not let them stop you. Because boldness isn't about proving something to them. It's about proving something to yourself. That you will not be ruled by fear, that you will not shrink when God calls you to rise, and that you will live every day as if your life matters. Because it does. There's a lion in you. And not because you're fierce, but because the Lion of Judah lives within you. When you speak, let it be with clarity. When you walk, let it be with courage. When you love, let it be without limits. And when you pray, let heaven hear the boldness in your cry. Let this July 8th be more than a date. Let it be a declaration. Let it be the day you decided to stop apologizing for your calling. Let it be the day you chose to stand up, speak out, and step forward. Let it be the day you remembered who you are and whose you are. You are a child of the Most High God. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are not too broken, too late, too little, or too lost. You are bold because He is bold. You are fearless because He is with you. And you will face every mountain, every storm, every challenge, not with trembling, but with truth. So go on now. Be bold, be brave, be blessed, and never forget, heaven is backing you. Prayer, child, is not a performance. It is not a stage where you put on fine words and flawless rhythm. No, prayer is a soul's moan, a heart's whisper, a spirit's reach toward the heavens. It is the place where brokenness meets healing, where silence turns into song, where fear bows to faith. When you truly understand the power of prayer, you will never again say, all I can do is pray, because, my dear, prayer is not a last resort. It is your first weapon, your greatest shield, and your closest connection to the one who holds the universe in His hands. Now lean in close, beloved. Let me tell you something I've learned of the weight of the world, and the warmth of God's wings. Prayer is not just for asking. It's for aligning. It's not just about bending heaven to your will. It's about surrendering your will to heaven's wisdom. Real prayer doesn't always change the circumstance. It changes the person who prays. Sometimes you walk into prayer full of worry and come out wrapped in peace. Sometimes you enter with confusion and come out carrying clarity like a lantern. And other times, those deep, trembling times, you enter prayer in pieces and come out whole, not because the problem disappeared, but because God met you in the middle of it. Let the world underestimate prayer if it must. Let the cynic scoff. But those who know. Prayer is where battles are fought and victories are secured. Prayer is where chains fall and eyes are opened. Prayer is where the weary are renewed and the broken are rebuilt. It is where the tears that fall unnoticed by man are caught by the hands of a loving God. It is the sacred space where heaven touches earth and whispers, "You are not alone." Now, I don't mean the rehearsed kind of prayer, the one said with trembling lips but an absent heart. I mean the kind of prayer that comes from the depths, the kind of prayer that's more tears than words, the kind that makes your soul ache but your spirit rise. That's the kind of prayer that moves mountains and shakes foundations. Because it's not the eloquence of your words that reach God, it's the sincerity of your heart. Some days you'll pray with power. Some days you'll pray with pain. Some days all you'll have is a sigh, a whisper, a groan too deep for language. But the beauty of prayer is that God hears it all. He hears the confident declarations and the silent screams. He hears the, "Thank you, Lord," and the "God, I don't understand." He hears the loud hallelujahs and the quiet whimpers in the midnight hour. And in all of it, he draws near. That is the strength of prayer. It brings God close. Not that he ever left, but prayer tunes your soul to feel his presence. It opens your eyes to see his fingerprints on your life, even when the ink is still wet with tears. It reminds you that you don't have to carry the weight alone. You were never meant to. You see, there's a certain posture to real prayer. It's not in the bending of knees alone, but in the bending of pride. It's in saying, "Lord, I need you," not as a poetic gesture, but as a desperate truth. Because when you strip everything away, your titles, your strength, your plans, all that's left is a soul before its creator. And that is where the real work begins. Prayer will not always give you what you want, but it will always give you what you need. It will not always stop the storm, but it will anchor your boat. It will not always change the people around you, but it will change how you see them. It gives you the eyes of heaven, the patience of eternity, and the strength of God himself. Oh, beloved, if you knew how much power your prayers carried, you would never doubt again. If you could see what happens in the spiritual realm when you whisper the name of Jesus. Walls crumble, chains snap, darkness flees. There are angels who respond not to titles, not to bank accounts, but to the sound of faith-filled prayer. You don't need fancy words to be heard. You don't need to pray like the preacher or the poet. You just need to be honest, be present, be willing to let God into the messy places. Because he doesn't require perfection. He desires participation. He wants your heart, your truth, your surrender. And hear me now, prayer is not a monologue. It's a dialogue. After you've cried out, after you've pleaded and praised, be still and let him speak. For the God who listens also answers. Sometimes in the roar of a miracle, sometimes in the stillness of peace, sometimes in the nudging of your spirit that says, "Keep going. I've got you." Let prayer be your rhythm, your daily bread, your resting place and your rising song. Let it be the fire that warms you and the light that guides you. When the world is loud, retreat into prayer. When your soul is weary, rest in it. When you don't know what else to do, pray. When you've done all you can, pray again. Not because God needs convincing, but because your heart needs aligning. And know this, you are never too broken to pray, never too far gone, never too late, The door to God's presence is never locked, and your access is not based on perfection but on grace. You don't earn it, you enter it. Boldly, faithfully, let this day, this blessed day of July 8, be a turning point, a fresh breath in your walk with the Lord. Let today be the day you stopped seeing prayer as a ritual and started seeing it as a relationship. Talk to Him like you talk to a friend. Cry to Him like you cry to a mother. Listen to Him like you'd listen to wisdom carved in the stars. And when you rise from your knees, don't leave that place unchanged. Walk like someone who just met with the King. Speak like someone who has heaven backing their words. Live like someone whose spirit has been watered by divine presence. For you, my dear, are a praying soul. And the world doesn't know what to do with someone who prays like that. Let the fire of prayer burn bright in you. Let it never go out. And let your life from this day forward be the evidence that prayer is not just a whisper into the air. It is a conversation with power, with love, with the God who still moves mountains. There will come a time, my dear, when the winds will howl and the clouds will gather low. A time when the sky of your soul darkens and the road ahead vanishes beneath your trembling feet. And it is in those moments, not in comfort, not in calm, but in chaos, that you must remember this holy truthing: God is present, God is powerful, and God is enough. Challenges you see do not arrive at your doorstep without purpose. They do not knock just to disturb your peace. They come to introduce you to the strength you forgot you had. They come to lift the veil and show you the God who stands steady in the middle of every storm. Every hardship, every trial, every fiery furnace is not the end of your story. It is the shaping of it. You may wonder, why now? And oh, that is a question as old as time. But child, don't you know? Diamonds are made under pressure. Mountains are climbed with shaking legs. And faith is not grown in sunlight alone. It is deepened in shadow, in midnight wrestling, in seasons of silence where only God's voice can soothe you. When challenges rise, you have two choices: you can crumble beneath them, or you can stand, not because you feel strong, but because you know God is. And oh, what a glorious strength He gives. It's not always loud, it's not always seen. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, keep going. Sometimes it's a peace that makes no sense to the mind but fills the heart like morning sun. God never promised a life free from trouble. He promised His presence through it. He said, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. Not if, but when. Because He knew the floods would come. He knew the fires would burn. But He also knew that His presence would carry you through what would drown others. And that, my love, is where true strength lives. Not in avoiding hardship, but in facing it with faith. In lifting your head when the world tries to bow it. In saying, I will not break, because my God holds me together. That kind of strength is not taught in textbooks. It is written in the lines of your story, in the chapters where you thought it was over. But grace turned the page. Let me tell you, strength in God is not about never crying. It is not about walking through fire and pretending not to feel the heat. No, strength is found in the tears you cry while still moving forward. It is in the trembling voice that chooses to praise. It is in the soul that says, I don't understand, but I still trust. And oh, how sweet it is to trust, not in the outcome, but in the one who holds the outcome. Because God does not fumble. He does not lose track of your tears or forget the way to your heart. He does not make mistakes with your life. Even the pain has purpose. Even the delay has direction. Even the no is a protection you don't yet see. Sometimes the challenge is not the enemy. It is the evidence that you are growing, the evidence that you are being elevated, the evidence that the enemy is threatened by the light in you. And when all of hell tries to shake you, you must plant your feet in the soil of faith and say, I shall not be moved. It is in the pressing that the oil flows. It is in the breaking that the blessing is birthed. And it is in the challenge that the change comes. You, beloved, were never meant to live a small life. That's why the challenges seem so tall. The enemy does not fight what does not threaten him. So when you feel the storm rising, lift your eyes higher. Don't measure your problem, measure your God. Don't count your enemies, count your promises. Don't rehearse your pain, recite his power. For he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The same God who parted the sea walks with you now. The same God who shut the lion's mouth will silence your doubts. The same God who raised the dead can resurrect what feels lost in you. And that strength is not reserved for the saints in stained glass. It is yours. It is present. It is enough. You were not created to live in fear. You were not called to shrink. You were not designed to quit. There is divine resilience in your bones, placed there by the breath of God himself. And when the weight gets heavy, you can lean. You can fall, if you must, into the arms of grace that never grow weary. Sometimes God doesn't move the mountain. Sometimes he strengthens your legs. Sometimes he doesn't calm the storm. He calms you. And that, my child, is more powerful than you know. So don't despise the challenge. Let it refine you. Let it teach you. Let it remind you that you were never walking alone. And when you come out on the other side, and you will, there will be a new strength in your step, a new fire in your eyes, and a new song in your spirit. On this day, this divine moment we call July 8, stand in the fire and know you are not alone. Declare to every shadow and every fear, I am not afraid of the challenge, because my faith is bigger, my God is stronger, and his strength is made perfect in my weakness. And now rise. Rise with a courage soaked in faith. Rise with a strength not your own, and let the world see what it looks like when a soul refuses to quit, when a heart chooses hope, and when a life is carried not by circumstance, but by the everlasting arms of God. That, my darling, is the strength that changes everything. There is a moment, sacred and still, when a soul no longer trembles at the sound of trouble. A moment when faith grows bold, when trust becomes muscle, and when confidence no longer depends on the applause of people but on the quiet presence of God. That moment is not born in comfort. It is born in decision. A decision to stop running. A decision to stop hiding. A decision to stop asking if you're enough and start believing that God is. When you finally begin to walk, not in fear, not in flesh, but in faith, you begin to see with different eyes. You look at the mountain and no longer count how high it is. You remember who moves mountains. You hear the storm howling and no longer check your strength. You listen for his whisper that says, peace, be still. You see the giant, yes, but your eyes are locked on the sling in your hand and the God who never missed. To live empowered by God is to live different. You rise with purpose. You move with meaning. You no longer ask permission to believe. You no longer shrink to fit small spaces. You no longer carry shame like a coat. You cast it off and step into the robe of righteousness. Soon for you by grace and embroidered with truth. Let me say this, childing, you are stronger than you know, not because of who you are, but because of who you belong to. When the Spirit of the living God moves inside a person, they are no longer ordinary. They become a vessel of might, a lighthouse in the storm, a voice that breaks chains with words soaked in heaven's oil. And when you live from that place, from the strength of God and not the strength of your flesh, you are dangerous to darkness. But understand, beloved, that kind of strength be chosen. It must be walked in. It is not automatically felt. It must be activated by faith. That means you wake up and declare before the day even begins, Lord, I trust you, Lord, I need you. Lord, go before me. Be the fire in my voice, the power in my steps, the shield at my back. You don't wait to feel strong. You speak strength until it rises. You don't wait for fear to leave. You move anyway. You don't wait for all the answers. You lean on the one who already knows the way. And when you lean on God, really lean, you'll find a strength that doesn't bend beneath sorrow. You'll find a hope that doesn't drown in delay. You'll find a joy that sings in prison cells and a peace that makes no earthly sense. Because the strength of God isn't about pushing harder. It's about surrendering deeper. You see, people think faith is soft. They think trusting God is passive. But trust, child, is the fiercest kind of strength. It is the refusal to be shaken by what you see. It is the declaration that God's word is truer than your worry. It is the ability to walk through fire and believe not only that you will come out, but that you will come out better, brighter, bolder. And what are the challenges? They will come. Life will try to steal your confidence like a thief in the night. It will throw disappointment like stones, hurl loss like wind, and paint fear on your window like frost. But the God who formed you knows exactly how to shield you. And not only shield you, but send you forward with power. You were not created to live timid. You were not crafted in heaven's image just to survive. No, you were made to thrive. You were made to stand when others sit, to speak when others whisper, to believe when others doubt. Because God's strength in you is not a feeling. It is a force. And when you begin to operate in that force, you shift atmospheres. You walk into rooms and bring light with you. You enter battlefields and carry peace. You pray and heaven responds. Let me remind you of something deep and true. Faith is not fragile. It is not weak. It does not break when pressure rises. Faith grows teeth. It digs in. It refuses to move unless God says so. It walks on water, not because the waves aren't there, but because the word is stronger than the wind. And strength, real strength, it doesn't always look like shouting from the rooftops. Sometimes it looks like staying when everything in you wants to run. Sometimes it looks like loving when you've been wounded, forgiving when you've been wronged, giving when you feel empty. That kind of strength is not taught in school. It is learned in the quiet place with God. It is grown in the secret battles no one sees. It is the fruit of a life fully surrendered. So let the world call you weak for trusting God. Let them laugh when you pray instead of panic. Let them mock when you speak faith over facts. But you keep on, because every time you declare God's truth, you are tearing down strongholds. Every time you trust Him, you are breaking generational fear. Every time you rise up in His strength, you are writing a new legacy. Let this be your July 8 anthem. Let it be your song and your sword. I will not fear, for my God is with me. I will not faint, for His strength carries me. I will not bow to worry, to shame, or to doubt, for I walk with heaven's power in my soul. You don't need a crowd. You don't need perfection. You don't need everything to go right. You just need to keep showing up, keep believing, keep holding on. Because when you do, heaven moves. This is the day, child. This is your moment. Not to pretend you're strong, but to declare that His strength is enough. Not to avoid challenge, but to face it with faith. Not to shrink back, but to rise. And when you do, when you truly rise, you will discover that you were never alone, never powerless, and never forsaken. You were chosen, equipped, empowered. So step forward, not with trembling but with trust, not with fear but with faith.